Hi, my name is Cody Hosterman, and I'm going to be demonstrating automatically expanding a VMFS volume using vCenter, SNMP Traps, and vRealize Orchestrator on the FlashArray. So currently we're logged into the vRealize Orchestrator appliance. The first thing we want to do is import a policy template into vRealize Orchestrator. So I'm going to create a new folder, and now I'm going to import that template into Orchestrator. If we take a quick look at the policy template itself, we can see it's configured for an SNMP device and a trap policy. So now we're going to apply this template as a new policy. And we're essentially going to associate it with an SNMP device that's been already configured in vRealize Orchestrator. So this policy, when started, will watch for any traps coming from that source. Now, in order to expand the volume, we need to run an expansion workflow. So if we take a look here, I have the FlashArray workflow package installed, and we have an expand VMFS volume workflow. This is the workflow that my trap policy is going to start if it detects a threshold alert on a specific data store. Okay, so let's jump over to vCenter. So I have a current folder in my data stores listing where I have the alert applied to that folder. So any data store I add to that folder will get this new alert. So first, let's create a new data store. So I'm going to use the Pure Storage FlashArray vSphere Web Client plugin to create a new data store. I'll call it resize, give it a 4 terabyte capacity, and go ahead and provision it. So this is going to create a new data store, a volume on the FlashArray, rescan format with VMFS, so we have a brand new one. What we're going to do after this is we're going to add it to that folder, so this specific data store will get that alert. And we'll take a look at that alert in a second. So now that the data store is created, we can take a look at it. So we see our new data store here. And if we look at the current alerts, or alarms rather, there aren't too many, right? There's just a couple of the default ones that come with vCenter and a data store. Now if we add that to my folder, and we refresh it, we have a new alert. It's our VRO auto grow alert that I assigned to that folder. So any object that's in that folder will inherit that alert. It's automatically enabled. We can see the trigger that if it hits 75% full, it's going to trigger an alert. And then the action it's going to take is send a trap notification to any SNMP targets inside of vCenter, which happens to be my Orchestrator instance. So now let's start my SNMP trap policy. Now the next thing we need to do is that it's an empty data store, so let's actually put some data in it, or at least some allocation. So the easiest way to do this is just create a VM. I'm going to create a VM that fills up 90% of the data store, at least enough that that 75% threshold will be hit. So we'll go through, we'll choose a host, we'll choose our VRO resize data store. And last thing we want to do is make sure that our virtual disk is enough to create a capacity alert. So it's a 4 terabyte volume, we'll make it 3,500 gigs, so that'll get it pretty full. All right, should be all good, thick provision, so it's going to actually allocate the space, and we'll finish and let that complete. So the alerts inside of vCenter aren't automatically going to necessarily trigger as soon as something happens. There's some kind of polling mechanism so it doesn't immediately happen. But once this VM is created, we'll go ahead and kind of refresh the storage subsystem so it makes sure that it sees that the capacity is used. And you can see we now have an alert on that data store that appears. If we jump back to vRealize Orchestrator and we take a look at our logs, we'll see that indeed it got the trap, it sees the expansion, and now it's launching that workflow. So you can see the workflow is already done. It's extremely quick. All it does is resize that volume, rescan the host, and then go ahead and do a VMFS volume grow. This trap policy by default is going to expand that volume size by 30%. So by expanding by 30%, that automatically clears that alert, and the volume is now over 5 terabytes instead of the original 4 from the VMware perspective. And we also see from the array perspective using the plugin screen here that it's indeed 5.2 terabytes instead of the original 4. All right, thanks for watching. For more information about this process, check out my blog post I wrote about this on codyhosterman.com. Thanks.